Today we're going to talk about networks and how to choose a network for your company. This is more of an ICT for A levels revision sort of session rather than for a bit for any other course or anything. It's more WJEC. To begin, we're going to talk about choosing a network for a company. There are usually 6 factors that that a business or a company would take into account when choosing an ICT system. If I just run you through the 6 first, I think they should pop up on your screen as we go through them. First one is cost of the network. Now that one, the cost of the network is where there are 4 areas within cost of the network. First is the initial purchase of the equipment. This is basically where you would buy the equipment from the supplier, whoever. This is more of the computers that you buy, the file servers, the software as well. But this, obviously, we're talking about equipment really. So cabling, especially, you might have fiber optic, or you might even have wireless. That would obviously depend on your budget. Like obviously the size of the system will also depend on your budget. The second one is installation and training. That is also the part of the cost, because depending on how much you can afford, you'd have different sort of training done. You might have basic training, or you might have extensive training as well, depending on how much money you want to spend on training. Maintenance costs. Now, maintenance costs also depends on the size of your system. If you have a big system, maintenance cost would be more, because obviously there's more to maintain. And the last one is management. Management, depending on how big your system is, if you've got a client-server network or if you've got a peer-to-peer network, depend on also then having a IT system. Like if you've got a big network, then you'll need some sort of IT manager as well to help you run the system, because obviously it's a big system and there'll be a lot of errors, and that you sort of need someone to sort that out. That was number 1, which was cost of the network. That's the first factor. The second factor is size of the organisation. This one's a bit confusing, obviously, because the size of the organisation will also depend on other things, external factors as well. But firstly, if you've got a small business, then you might just have a small LAN at one site. However, if you've got a global business, you might have loads of little connected to a big global WAN. But obviously, don't confuse that with the internet, which is also it's more of a metropolitan, but can also be sometimes known as a WAN. The second one is the bullet point number 2 really is the volume of data that's actually processed. If you have a lot, then obviously you'd sort of want a centralized computing system, because if you were to start doing it on your own machines, you'd sort of need a high spec machine, which will cost you more. But then again, if you have a big organisation, you might have a slightly bigger budget, that might make it worth it. Third one is number of users. If you have a lot of users on your network, you're going to need a lot more computers, and obviously you're going to process more data, so you're going to need a high spec on those as well. And another one is suitable communications media. This is how you plan on connecting yourself, which could be sort of the internet, which is usually the internet, which you can assume that it'll be the internet. If we move on to point number 3, how the system will be used, what applications do the users require. That is also a factor, because if you're going to use a high spec application, you can't have a low spec machine, and sort of connect the connections to the file. You have to have maybe a file server as well that can store your information and your data and all that sort of thing, so you can use as much available memory on your computer to actually process applications as well. And whether or not you need large data storage, because if you've got a lot of data storage, then you might need personal hard drives, or you might need a bigger central hard drive, which you need to plan for as well. If we move on to point number 4, is existing systems and whether or not integration will be required. I mean, if you've already got, are there any existing systems that the business has got? Sometimes it's just an extension, when a new branch office opens. Also, will it need to fit in with an existing operating system, or will you be having a new operating system? This sort of thing has to also be considered. and obviously will like your with the new existing software have to share data with the new software maybe, and also will this new network have to support peripherals such as barcode readers, scanners, and printers that have already been owned by the business. Yeah, the next one is a performance. This is number 5. Performance has 4 little subcategories in it. It's reliability, which is obviously how reliable you need the system to be, because the star network is going to be more reliable than the ring, because obviously if you have one little break in the ring, you got the whole network which is pretty much just shut down. The next one is capacity, and the storage capacity. If you need to store more, you sort of want a file server with a huge storage capacity compared to your individual hard drives in a ring or a bus network. The speed of processing, you're looking at much more faster speed of processing if you're sending it back to the file server and returning it to yourself, rather than trying to process the information yourself on your personal, on the the individual computer, which has a slightly less processing power than the file server would have. The last one is how suitable it would be for the user. If you're going to have a ring network, it's going to be sort of maintained by the user themselves, and the computer has to be on for them to access the information that they need from another computer, whereas a file server, you've got access because your computer sort of stays on, more or less. Move on to the last and final one, is the security issues. This is a big one, this one, because whatever network you choose, you have to take this consideration into, you have to consider this security issues, because you're a company, you don't really want your information to be sent out, and you don't want other people to see it. It's valuable stuff, this. Prevention of unauthorized access. In other words, to me and you, it's more of hacking. Everyone's familiar with hacking, but hacking can also destroy a business, because their secrets would come out and other people would have access to it, etc. That, and avoiding viruses as well, because viruses can eat up the valuable data that the company actually has. So we have secure payments. Secure payments is making sure that, because obviously this is a company we're talking about, and they will have customers who want to pay over the internet. I mean, I'm sure many of you have bought something on a website, and you want your money to be secure. That's one of the main issues that these networks they need to have, because they have to store this data somewhere, and secure payments is one of the things obviously that otherwise it will damage their business as well. Personal data protection. This one is also quite big, because there's law that the company has to follow, Data Protection Act 1998, I think it is. Sorry, I'll have to check that up for you. I'll put that in the description. Just check in the description. That law prevents the company from actually sending out or letting other people look at the private information of individuals such as you and me, and even the staff information for that matter. They also have to prevent downloading of illicit material, such as copyright stuff, videos, music, movies, and that sort of thing. They're not allowed to let, obviously because it's illegal, they can't let their staff do that as well. So, yeah, and also they have to block and also pursue offensive emails and people who go on illegal sites, and such as gambling under 18 or something like that, or pornography or whatever, that sort of thing as well. So security issues is the last one, and that's the 6 factors, which are, again, if I just run you through them again quickly, they are the cost of the network, size of the organisation, the use, how it will be used, existing systems, performance, and the security issues. Thank you very much for watching. Good luck in the exams.